Hey everybody, it's Jay. Welcome to the channel. So I love using long exposure photography, and I use it for different reasons. Sometimes it's just not enough light, and to get an image properly exposed, I have to extend the shutter speed. Sometimes it's capturing movement. It could be clouds over a building, it could be cars on a street, but it adds something to the image. There's other times where you do kind of just cool things like zooming or panning. Today I'm going to talk about using long exposure to take away distractions, to simplify a scene, to create a minimalist, ethereal feel. So tag along. I'm going to take you along on a photo shoot I did yesterday and show you some tips and tricks and stuff that I do to ensure I get a good shot using long exposure photography. Well, it is about 40 minutes before sunrise. I have arrived at my destination, got my camera, walked over to the beach, and I'll turn the camera around. I'll show you what I'm looking at. One of my favorite spots on the Connecticut shore. So this is Walnut Beach. There's a great fishing pier here. And I came, I think, at the perfect time. There's two things I wanted. One, I want the sun to align pretty well. The problem in the summer is the sun's gonna rise way over there. But at this point in early December, December 1st, the sunrise should align right there. I also wanted it to be high tide because in the foreground here, there's got some ugly rocks that now I don't see because the tide is really perfectly placed now at high tide. Usually you don't get these waves here. This should probably calm down a little bit, but looks like a good morning. So really pretty scene. One issue you have is that the sky is going to be brighter than the foreground. I mean, you do get some reflected light in the water, but still that sky is going to be pretty bright. So what I am going to do is I'm going to use a graduated neutral density filter. I'm going to put it over my camera lens that will darken the sky, like almost like sunglasses for the sky, but keep the foreground lighter, and that will balance things out. In fact, it might even create some drama. The sky's going to look even darker than it normally would, but it might look kind of cool. So I've got the Lee filter system, and to attach it to the camera, I need to put in a filter holder. So this is just a thing that screws on my lens. This is the holder. It's got a little spring in there, and that goes on top, and the filters can slide right in there. So this is my graduated filter. You see it's darker on the top, clear on the bottom. Again, I'm going to put that right on my lens, and you'll see what it does to the scene. Okay, hopefully you can see the back of my camera. I'm just going to slide this right in here. There's a couple of grooves. I'm going to pop it in. And you should see on the back of the camera the sky. Let me move my hands a little bit. The sky should get darker as I push it down. And you'll get some nice balance. So let me give you just two quick shots. This is one without the filter. And then this one is when I put the filter on. So you can see the difference between the two. With the filter on, I got more detail in the foreground. The sky is not quite as overpowering from a brightness standpoint. So now I want to use a longer exposure. With that neutral density filter in there now, given how bright it's getting, I can only go out about 10 seconds. And I'm at f/22, so my aperture is closed down as much as it can be. I'm at my lowest ISO, and I get out to 10 seconds. And it's not a bad shot. Here's a shot at 10 seconds. But I want to smooth out that water even more. And to do that, I need to use a longer exposure. And that means I need one more tool, and that is another neutral density filter. This one, much darker, and let me get that, I'll show you what it looks like. So I pulled out my 10 stop ND filter, and you can see it is really dark. Actually, let me turn the camera around. I'll show you with the sky and back. That'll be a better view for you. All right, let me I'll swing around this way. You can see it is really dark. And so that will allow me to use a much longer exposure. Now, before you put on that 10-stop ND filter, you need to get the focus right and then lock in your focus. Because if you put that ND filter on, try to focus, the camera will not be able to do it. It's just too dark. There's nothing for the camera to sort of grab onto for autofocus. And so I put my camera, I locked in the focus, put the ND filter on. I need one more tool, and that is a remote trigger. I don't want to touch the camera if I'm using a very long exposure. Any sort of movement is going to cause camera shake, which obviously we don't want. That will make it blurry. So let me get my remote trigger, hook it to my camera, and we'll take some shots. So once you have the ND filter in, then the tricky part is what's the shutter speed? How long will you leave the shutter open for? And the quickest, easiest way to do that is to use an app. I have an app on my phone that Lee makes, the Lee filters. And basically you get a shot that is properly exposed without the filter, and then the app tells you, if you put the filter on, what shutter speed you would need to get a properly exposed image. And in fact, I set you can hear my phone timer. Let me stop that. This is about a 2-minute exposure. And wow, that is spectacular. So let me show you the difference between a 10-second exposure and a 2-minute exposure. Here's the 10-second exposure I took. It's good, right? The water's nice and still, but you do see some still ripples in the water. It's not perfectly glass-like, but here's the 2-minute exposure, and you can see the water's much calmer. Again, it has a very still, serene feel to it. Now, with this kind of water, this is not very rough. This is a fairly protected area. So there's not a huge difference, but if it was really wavy, there would be an enormous difference between 10 seconds and 2 minutes. The longer the exposure, the smoother the water. Well, unfortunately, the sky is not very interesting this morning. It's actually quite boring. Really no clouds up there. There are clouds on the horizon that will make the sunrise a little later than I expected by a couple minutes. Not a big deal. I'm here already. But still, it's a really cool spot. Well, the sky is brightening up. Some clouds in the sky, not a ton, but I tell you one thing you do need, in addition to all the gear for long exposure photography, is patience. Because you know, you're taking a 2-minute exposure and you see it, could be underexposed, could be overexposed, you gotta try again. And so patience definitely helps. Now, you'll notice there's some people walking on the pier up there. The good news is, with a long exposure, you are not gonna see them. They're just gonna be ghosts. And so they will not have an impact on the image. One more piece of gear I forgot to mention you should bring with you, and that is an extra battery. Because long exposure photography chews up your batteries pretty quickly. And so I have an extra battery. I can see my bars are starting to go down a little bit. So I have an extra battery. May not need it, but just in case, at least I have it. Well, that sun is just peeking over the horizon. So I've got a long exposure going right now. You see my camera down there. And we'll see how it looks. Well, the sun has risen. I'm getting one last shot with the sun kind of coming through the pier. I'm down to about 40 seconds now, 40-second exposure because it's gotten pretty bright. I still have my ND filters on. Let me check my timer. There we go. And close the shutter. Ooh, beautiful. Very nice. All right, I am gonna go to the other side of the pier. The sun's kind of bright now, so to shoot right into the sun just after it rose is challenging. So I'm gonna walk around to the other side of the pier where the sun is really hitting the pier. And I'm gonna get a shot from there, maybe process in black and white, just because the contrast hopefully will be kind of dramatic. Whoa, it's bright. You can see the sun on my face. What a morning. It's chilly, by the way. It's like 37 degrees Fahrenheit, but well worth getting out. Oh yeah, this is great. Well, the sun has risen, and you can see what the pier looks like from this side. I love the way the sun is splashing against it, creating some nice highlights on the wood. And so I'm doing another long exposure from here. It's gonna look pretty different. I had to refocus, so I took my ND filter out, refocused, set the focus, locked it in, put the filter back in, and I'm shooting again. Well, all right, that does it. You've seen some good shots, I hope. Such a fun time doing this. I hope you got something out of the video. If you liked it, just give me a like, a thumbs up. And if you like this kind of content, landscape, architecture, studio stuff, I'm really exploring so many different avenues these days. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. And until next time.